Hello everybody. This is continue for the tutorials for both units. COIT the 12206 and COIT 20261, the postgrad student. So we had covered tutorials 1 to 6, and today we will go through tutorial 7. We will focus today on DHCP as a server. We will create topology of 3 Linux hosts in addition to a router. That router will work as the DHCP. Let's go over here quick and give it any name you like, whatever, not you like, whatever we ask you to name it to. Put your student ID, and here we are. What we need to add here, we need to add 3 Linux hosts, 1 Ether channel, and 1 open ORT router. There is no need here for allocating any IPs. Let's keep this one for interface 0, and you will understand later why is this. So we have 3 different, as you can see that, 3 different hosts in addition to switch, in addition to the router. What we ask you over here, we try to show you how to get an IP address using 3 different methods. However, it's actually 2 methods, but anyway, let's go for the third approach. The first one, what we will do, we will start the router, and we will try to find out what's on the router. Usually you give this one a little bit like a minute, so it's like a normal or real version of the software. It takes a while until it's load. And let me take it over here. So open a tab here so you guys can see what we can move from one device to another. With the first device, we will use a command to request an IP address from the server. The open WRT router will work as a server. If you have attended the lecture, you understand the discovery, the request, the acknowledgement, the process between the client and the server. If you know those steps, you will see them today here. So let's see that you can type fconfig, you can type IP address show, whatever you like. It will give you the IP address of here. So what we have here in terms of IP addresses, we try to find an IP address here being allocated, and as you can see that it's over here. It's allocated as 192.168.1.1 by default. So, okay, that's one. Let's go over here and let's go to the host number 1. Let's turn host number 1 only. And let's try to require, do we have any IP address here? So we don't. As you can see that we do not have any IP address here. As well, you can type IP, the link show as well. It's gonna give you the IP address. So we do not have here any IP address. We have the MAC address, yes, but we do not have any IP address. So what to do? We have a software client, a DHCP client software called UDHCP-C. That one will run a discovery, as you can see that. What's over here? That's a discover. Then broadcasting. Do we have any IP at DHCP server? And the DHCP server allocated an IP address 180 to that device with a lease time 43,200 second, which is 12 hours. By default, yes, by default. That's it. That's it. So now let's see that if we still have, if we got an IP address or not. Now you can see that that PC got an IP address already. Done, done. So you request from the client, the server reply to the client, this is my offer, I got it, here it is, you accept it, I acknowledge, and I got the IP. That's one approach. That's one way to have an IP address, which is you invoke the client. What about if let me go over here and I'll leave this one at the top here so you can see. What about the second one? Oh, the second one, we will use the ETC. So let's go over here and start that device. And I'm going to go to the configuration. You are familiar with those ones already. We have done that many times. However, in this today, we will not go through the Ethernet 0 in terms of static. However, we will go in terms of dynamic. That's it. That's it. So I'm going to leave it as it is, but I will enable the DHCP services on the device. Now, stop that. Here again, just make sure that everything is done. Yes, everything is done here. Just only double check. Now, run that device. And let's open this one. You can see that over here. I believe that's clearly enough. It has allocated 144 IP address, 1.144, and the lease time is over here. If you want to make sure that the IP address has been allocated. So the first one, we invoke the UDHCP-C. The second one with the GUI, you can use the same thing with the other devices. Can we see how the client communicate with the server? Yes, we do. So let's go over the topology, and in that link, since it's still down as it is, I'm gonna try to capture the traffic between both of them. And here, try to call it whatever, week 7 DHCP.pcap. The capture starts here, and I will start the device. Let's go to the type fconfig or IP address show, whatever you like. There is no IP. So let's invoke the DHCP.C. Here it is. It's allocate already 176. And if I type the command one more time, it shows me that yes, the Ethernet 0 has been allocated 192.168.176/24. Right. So can we see what happened between the client and the server? Yes, it's being captured already. So let's go over there and stop the capture. Let's go to the FileZilla. From the FileZilla, that's 192.168.56.116. That's my IP. That's the machine IP, not your IP. So that IP address. So maybe yours different. GNS3, and 22. Let's log into the machine here and see how it goes. Now I'm going to search for the OPT. Under the OPT, go to the GNS under the project. Since I have multi-project here and I cannot see the names, just click over there. You can see which one. I believe that's the one. Here it is. That's the capture. Inside the capture, that's the file I want. I'm gonna drag this one. I'm gonna put it into the desktop, put it into whatever you like. Here it is. I'm gonna put it into download. And let's go see that's what's inside. What's the Wireshark has captured? Those are the communications packets between the client and the server. 192.168.1.1. This is start from the discovery from the beginning. Usually the client send broadcast to 255, 255, 255, 255 to everyone. Do we have a DHCP server? The DHCP server reply with the offer. Then the client take the request. The server offer that with the lease time and the conditions. You acknowledge that, or the client acknowledge that, and being accepted. As you can see here, you can see the source IP and the destination IP. For example, if we go over there, here, let's start from the DHCP discover. Who actually initiate that? As you can see, that source is 0, nothing. So, which means that it came from the server itself. This one, who initiate that? Discover 192.168, the source. The destination is 176. That's the request from the source. That's the offer from the server. And that's the acknowledgement from the server as well. Feel free to go over these approaches and the steps to explain in your reflection what you have, what you understood. That's task number 1 for this tutorial. That's all here. As you can see that's the tutorial number. Here it is. We try to use the different type of approach to have an IP on the client. We demo 2 ways to get an IP address from the host. And now the third one is the capture. Now let's move to the second piece or the second task of today's tutorial. And try to be patient with the second piece because that's sometimes you need to demo for a while. I mean, you need to type, and if you miss something, you have to troubleshoot and go back from scratch. For task 2, what we have asked you to duplicate that one, to duplicate that project. And after you duplicate the project, we will modify only the some configuration on the router. For me, in my case, I will not do that. However, you need to do that. You need to duplicate the project to save your time and my time as well. So I'm gonna keep those ones as it is. For the first piece of the project or for the first piece of that, we try to ask you just only to be familiar with what's inside the router, the server. We have few commands here which been given, as you can see that I summarize those ones for you already under here. So if you want to see, let's say, for example, I want to see what's inside those files. So if I type, let's say over here, you'll see something like etc. So if I type, if I went inside the etc, you will find those ones. We focus on a file called configurations. What's inside configuration? And that's the one you will see. I have something called DHCP. Okay, so what's inside DHCP? DHCP is, watch this, let me just make sure that you understand. Can you see this one? That's not a directory. So this is actually a file. So what's inside that? All right, so let's see if here it is. You can see that's the configuration for the DHCP. It starts with the DNS, and that's the setting, the whole setting for the DNS. That's the one we usually focus on in our case because it has very important part, which is the lease time here and the start and the limit. As you can see, that's what you want to your LAN. So what you want to propagate. What type of IPs? Where you start, where you end. So from here, for example, that's I start from 100, then 150, which means that the other IPs I can propagate. We have a WAN, we have the ODHCP as well. However, we will focus on that part. Even I got you a comment here if you want just only to focus on the part. If you want to see only that part, you don't want to go over all that headache. You just type UCI the show and DHCP dot LAN like that. So when you type that command like this, so you will have only that part. If that file is too big in your term, whatever it is, so you will find out that, as you can see, that we can limit the output. Now we ask you, this is how to overview only. Then we familiar with host number 1. Let's say I'm gonna run that one more time so you guys can see that. The lease time over here, 12 hours, 43,200 seconds. So it's obtained from 192.168.1.1 for that lease time. And sure, you have a MAC address and everything. So, but what we will do, can we change that? Can we change that? So you can see that host number 1, right now having 12 hours. Can we do some changes to that? Yes, we can do something like that. And we have command which called UCI, the unified interface. Can you set DHCP LAN dot please time equal 2 hours. Please make sure of your typo is correct, because like if you miss anything, you have to do it from scratch. So that's the problem here. So whatever, yes, some students, they prefer to have copy and paste, but in my opinion, that copy and paste will not give you that experience with scripting. So type, do mistakes, troubleshoot, and come back, and so on. It's not big issue to do mistakes and come back. So that's UCI set DHCP LAN lease time. As you can see that here it is. When you review, you can find something. So after that, that's lease time equal 2 hours, no problem. Here it is. It tells me that oh, here, so that's need to be type on the router, not the host. That's it. DHCP dot LAN dot lease time equal 2 hours. That's correct. Yep, here it is. And over there, UCI commit DHCP. And then we will need to restart the server. And the DNS, as you can see that, restart. Okay, okay. Now let's go and run again the lease or the request to have an IP from host 1, which is, as you can see that, it's 4300. Now let's say run the same command again to request an IP. So here it is. And as you can see that now the new time for the DHCP lease time is 7200 seconds, which is, that's 2 hours. Easy as that, easy as that. No hassle, no headache, whatever it is. And sure, we have command which is under the DHCP leases. It can show you if you want see all the leases. However, that's not required in your case. But anyway, here you can type something like that. That's temp as well, DHCP, and just type leases like that. Here it is. Easy as that. Nothing else. That's the first part from task 2. Now task or the second part from task 2, we ask you to use static lease. What do you mean by static lease? Okay, this is my topology. Okay, let me just turn this one off. Assume that I want to assign IP for that one, but not static. We call it here add static lease, but not actually static IP as you, no. The server has a pool of addresses. I want to pick, let's say not assign, I want to pick a specific IP address to be added to that device from the server. I'm not going to assign it myself. I'm not going to put it myself as a static, as we have learned for the last 6 weeks or 7 weeks. But we want to have one specific IP to go from the server to that PC. So for example, I wanted this one to have the 200, 192, 168, 200. So how we do that? We have some commands which we can put it onto the server, which can push the server to allocate a specific IP to specific devices. However, to do so, you need to provide the actual physical MAC address of that device. And make sure that when you type something, you type it correctly, because if you miss something, it's going to give you a little bit error. So I'm going to go here. I will start that device. And let me put it down or put it up, whatever you, okay, let's go over here. That's the host tree. So you can guys see, I believe that's, so let's say that's fconfig or IP link, whatever. As you can see that I don't have IP addresses, but I have MAC. That's the MAC address we want, and that has to be typed correctly. So let's memorize that. Unfortunately, we don't have copy and paste from machine to machine here. So let's go here and try to type those commands. However, we will add that MAC address to our configuration. So on the server, I'm going to type UCI add DHCP host. Can you add host? Yes. What's the configuration of the host? Type something like DHCP dot, and be careful when you type from here up. That's host -1, and here name equal, and this one has to be identical, which means that whatever the name is, whatever the IP, whatever the MAC, it has to be identical. Make sure that the command specifically is accurate, because we will copy that. So that's UCI set DHCP at host -1, and then after that, the property we will use for the next few. That's it. That's it. Here it is. And I will, that's MAC, and that's the one we need to type. So what is the MAC of that device? That's 042. D708 and 6D00. Let's double check that, because that's highly important. If we miss anything from here, it will be a problem. So we had to do the work from scratch again. So that's 0242D7, 0242D7, and 086D. Yep, look okay. Here it is. And what you want the IP address you want to allocate. I want to allocate 192.168.1.200, for example, and change this one to the IP. The property is the IP. So I want to allocate a 200, the IP 200 to be reserved for host number. Here it is. And one last, how many hours you want for this one to be? I'm going to make it 4 hours just only for this one, because we have done 2 hours. Let's make it 2 hours, 4 hours for you guys to see what's the difference. That's release time. Let's look okay. Yes, here it is. There is no typo. Lease time. Yep, here. And from here, that's US UCI commit and HCP. And we need to restart that dot D and DNS. And here it is, restart. Now let's go to host number 3. And we will run the command over there. If we got the 200 for that host and we got 4 hours lease, that means our typing is correct. If it's not, we had to go come back and we check what was the typo, and most likely with the MAC and so on. So as you can see that there is no IP, I'm gonna go over here, type something like that. And as you can see that it has been allocated the 200 specifically for that. And look at this. That's 4 hours, by the way. So our work is perfect up to here. And if you type fconfig, for example, here it is. That's the IP address has been allocated here. And you can see that the lease time is over here clearly. There's no hassle, no headache here. One last piece for the lab today. We ask you over here, I think you're familiar with that. Maybe yes, maybe not. I'm not sure. But let's do something like that. We ask you to copy as well again, which means that duplicate the project. Then over there, what we ask you, can you put a fake domain with the fake IP? The problem is that not fake IP, existing IP, but a fake name domain, abc.com, whatever it is. So, and you can access that from another device. So let's go here. Let's say that I'm going to go on host number 1 here. And I will go to the ATC. That's the hosts. Let's go down there and let's type what's the IP address of 180. 192.168.1.180 www. That's my a fake website under my name. Okay, so URL like that. So here, now just make sure that we have done everything correctly. Yes, it's here. Now, can I ping? Let's say I want to ping www. Here it is. So I add one specific host into the etc host file. Okay, and can I ping it? Yes, you can ping it. Okay, what is the issue here? I'm pinging from the device within a link within the device. So that's not an issue at all. What about if we want to have, let's say, a DNS file, a DNS record, which we can ping from everywhere. So host 1 and host 2 and everything can ping it. We put this one into the etc on the OpenW RT. That's it. That's it. So if this is host one only, you can put it on, but if inside the device. But if we want to ping from one host, host number one, host two, host three, they want to ping a fake. For example, we ask you to create something like example one or example two. Put that inside the open WRT. That's tutorial number 7. I hope that was beneficial, and I'll see you in tutorial 8. Have a good one.